Alright, so now that the battle pass is completely out, I just wanted to check if this battle pass was actually going to be a good buy, and I think it's actually a pretty good buy if you want the bottom part just for the fun of it. So first off, let's start off with the main reason why you would want to buy the battle pass. Blind Obsession Ishmael. It is a very powerful ego. I just don't think that because right now, right, we don't have the Captain Ahab Ishmael ID yet. So I actually have no clue what the synergy is going to be with this ego, because Spice Bush plus Sun Shower was an incredibly strong combo back in the day, because pretty much Sun Shower, Spice Bush, sorry, back in the day, what the hell, it's still super busted, because Spice Bush and Sun Shower have too much synergy with each other. You got 30% extra damage for AoE moves, and then that would affect the ego, and the ego also buffs all of your sloth damage and your sloth power ups and whatever before you even trigger it, and it hits 7 targets, and it's 32, and it's also a piercing ego. So because of all of that, that ego has some incredible synergy with Spice Bush. So right now I'm just kind of looking at an ego that is just very strong but doesn't have the Spice Bush synergy. But this ego is still very strong because, first off, heal 25 SP for 4 allies with the least SP, and this is after the attack, which means that when you pay this 35 cost here, you already heal yourself by 25, because you nuke yourself for 35, you are now the lowest SP, so you heal yourself back 25, so you only pay 10 SP to activate this ego, so that's very good. 35 in a 7 AoE is very strong. If the enemy is weak to Pride, even better, because now we have 3 options for 7 AoEs. We have Ebony Stem, we have Spice Bush, and then we have Blind Obsession. And Blind Obsession, the ID hasn't even come out yet, so we do not know how powerful the synergy is going to be with the other Ishmael ID that's going to be coming out for this season as well. So besides all of that, by itself, it already fits into Reindeer Ishmael's game plan really, really well. You can treat this like a Telepole Dawn, but for Ishmael, Telepole Ishmael. So Reindeer actually charges this really well. We got Wrath, we got Gloom, we got Envy, and whenever you hit something, you gain 6 charge count. If you can hit 2 things at minimum, you get 1 Mind Whip. If you hit 3 things, you get 2 Mind Whips, because Mind Whip only needs 8. And 8 pretty much, after you use that ego and you Mind Whip twice in a row, you can literally do that, because it only reduces by 1 every turn. So 18, then 17, consume 8, now you are at 9, then you minus 1 again, you're at 8. Perfect. You can do 2 Mind Whips in the next 2 turns if you wanted to. So this is a very good Telepole ego just for Reindeer, giving 2 poise counts to 1 random ally. So this one I was a little bit confused, but then I thought to myself, maybe when the Ishmael Ahab ID is going to come out, you will run the entire quad team with the Captain Ahab, and they would all be Pierce characters. So, sorry, not Pierce characters. I mean, they will be Pierce characters because they're all using harpoons and stuff, but they will also be poise characters, so that you can give your Pequod crew even more poise count to work with. It's not something to just give to all of your other poise characters as well. You can also just do that, but I feel like this is meant to be some specific poise mechanic for the Pequod crew. And then after your attack, you also apply 1 Pierce power up, and when I saw the Pequod trailer, the one with Queequeg inside, Queequeg is using the harpoon and it's basically triple pierce. And then you also have First Mate Yisang. First Mate Yisang is also doing a triple pierce move. So most likely, this is definitely meant to synergize well with the Pequod crew, and they should all be piercing damage characters. So that is going to be very, very cool to see. So this is already very strong. The Corrosion effect is also very strong because of this line here. Inflict 3 Pride Fragility this turn and next turn, 7 AoE. The problem is that it's a negative coin, but this part here looks very, very spicy, because 3 Pride Fragility is nothing to laugh at. That is 30% more damage for all your Pride skills, for your Leap, for your skill tree on your Sun Shower Yisang, blah blah blah. Lots of other Pride characters to be doing a bunch of damage with, and you apply 2 damage up this turn and next turn to 4 allies with the least SP, so maybe we will get a negative coin ID in the future, and then you'll be able to run this with that Ishmael, or maybe you just corrode this just so your entire negative ID team will be able to get free 2 damage up, and hopefully they also have some Pride abilities so that they can take advantage of this Pride Fragility. Besides that, there's a lot of other stuff. You also got a self-heal, so even if you just want to corrode just to heal yourself, sure, that works. You can also give yourself a bunch of poise and poise count. I'm really thinking that Ahab has some flippity-floppity thing that she can do. Maybe she can go negative coin, she can go positive coin, or something like that. Or maybe she's just one side. She can be the negative coin side, and then this side is just for when you want to play like regular Ishmaels or something like that. I don't know. So there's a lot of possibilities here, because this Corrosion side is really very nice for low SP character. So maybe Ishmael will get one, or maybe Ishmael will have to play the regular one and then just work with the P-Quad crew. Not sure what's the design going to be. P-Moon can just cook whatever they want. And then the passive here, at the end of the turn, inflict 5 sinking to one other ally with the lowest HP. A bit wonky right now, I don't see the synergy yet, but maybe it will happen soon. I was thinking it could be some sort of other Suncliff archetypes where they want to get sinking applied onto them so they can go into low SP territory. Or you could just, try to make it so that this applies to your Sinclair or some other negative coin ID characters. Otherwise, this would just be mainly a detriment to your team because you would not want sinking on your characters. So most of the time, what you would do is you would try to not take hits with those characters anyway. So for Ryoshu, for example, she is very low HP, so she might be the one eating all of this sinking. So you just don't lose a clash. Otherwise, she's just going to become very sad very quickly because of this sinking effect here. And then apply 1 haste, 3 offense level up is kind of whatever, it's not really a big deal. Yeah, so the passive is kind of wonky. I suspect there will be some synergy going on with that one. And yeah, the ego, the rest of it is just very, very solid. You're always getting 35 damage no matter if you corrode it or not, but you need to just be able to not roll that tail coin, so it's used when you are low SP. So not sure yet. I feel like the Captain Ahab ID needs to come out first before we can talk about this ego more. But it's already looking very versatile and very solid, even if you just look at the positive part, because you get your charge count, you get pierce power up, you get a lot of value for it, and reindeer can definitely use it very well, so that is really one option. Another thing is that if you want to buy the battle pass, you can also get the FE and Sound Announcer if you like them a lot. And of course the next one, let's talk about Effervescent Corrosion, if I can find it. Where the hell are you? Okay, we skipped it because that's 4-2. There you are, Effervescent Corrosion Rodion. So Effervescent Corrosion Rodion is very, very strong because I really like this +7 tremor count, and the requirement to get more AoE is actually super easy compared to Honglu, because the requirement is if the main target has 75% HP or more, then you'll be able to get attack rate 1 at 50%, and at 75% you get an additional, so that makes this a 4 AoE, and you apply 7 tremor count. This is a very nice jump start, very similar to Rhyme Shank, because Rhyme Shank you just apply it one time, you got 10 sinking or 7 sinking count, depending on if you corrode it or not, and you have a lot of sinking to work with. And then for this one, it's the exact same. You get a lot of tremor count at the start to work with, as well as 3 tremor, and then you burst tremor all of the targets you hit afterwards, so you will be able to get already a little bit of stagger threshold increase, as well as trigger all of the burst tremor effects on your party, which means that all of these guys will get their defense level down because of your regret Faust being in the party. So this is already very, very cool for the Tremor gang. Maybe not super strong for just any other speed runs or whatever, but it is a very good opener in my opinion, because 7 tremor count is really a lot. You can do a lot of things with 7 tremor count. You can start bursting off the at the start of the fight basically, because you have such a huge amount of tremor count to work with. The Corrosion effect, you apply yourself a heal, you inflict 5 defense level down, burst tremor, something you won't really be doing unless you really desperately need a heal from this Rodion, because for example maybe you forgot to bring Fluid Sac, or you just didn't bring Pursuance, or you didn't bring Lantern Sinclair, then yeah, maybe you can just pop this to heal yourself, but most of the time you will not be using this too much. You can apply 5 defense level down to 4 targets, which is also okay. It's kind of like 1.75 frag or something like that, is kind of whatever. And then on the passive is on hit with a pierce skill, you inflict 1 bind. That is okay. You can synergize a little bit with some other bind characters like Red Eyes and whatnot. Bind, I feel like, is a status that has not really gotten too much synergy so far. We got a little bit of support from season 2, but not like a whole archetype that's based around binding enemies and getting huge value so far. Right, I think the only one I can think of is like Dimension Shredder Yisang, as well as Sang Dawn, who like to be faster than their opponents. Yeah, so that is really it. And then of course Red Eyes, because Red Eyes wants targets to be binded so they get their I think coin power up or slash power up, something like that. Right, so yeah, very, very solid ego. Already able to do binding, which is great CC, and that is just a bonus because the main thing you use it for is just for your tremor count, and you would apply it very early into the fight. So a very good opener if you want to use it. Then for 9-2, 9-2 is very cool. I talked about burn a lot. Burn very slow, can stack to 99 very easily. So being able to use this ego to convert it into defense level down is very, very cool. The Corrosion effect here, pretty much the similar to the initial effect here. You probably would never use this though, because the only thing you get from corroding is inflicting 2 bind. Everything else pretty much stays the same. You get 1 additional burn. Like that's not worth corroding this for. Yep. And then for the passive, on hit with a Lust Affinity skill, you inflict 1 burn. Once again, I'm hoping for a Liu Ishmael. And actually, I realized after a while that this plus the Sinclair one is actually very, very powerful together. Because you want to inflict burn onto the target so that your Sinclair will be able to get effects out of his 9-2 ego as well. Right, so if we go to the right side, I think that is all, right? Yeah, that's all. So we got 9-2 Sinclair. So for 9-2 Sinclair, pretty much, right, the synergy here is that on hit with a Lust Affinity, not this part, the part that he synergizes really well with is this part here. If the target has 10 plus burn, you inflict 1 attack power down and 1 defense power down. So you do need additional burn to be applied, which you can get from your Faust, or you can get from any of the Liu gang. You can also get Lust Fragility, which also makes that ego hit a little bit harder, and is also very, very cool in that. On hit with a Lust Affinity skill, you lower this unit and the target's SP by 4, and whenever you kill someone, you gain 5 Lust ego back. And because those two require a shit ton of Lust, this is actually quite nice to give you a little bit of a refund, as long as you're able to use your massive damage skill 2 to go and kill someone. So besides all of that, right, I also noticed that because you'll be stacking a lot of Lust, you might be triggering Grippy's Whistle a lot if you are using Grippy for the other ego, in which case you actually do need that SP decay in order to help manage your SP and stay a bit more on the edge. Just a little bit of SP management if you were to use this ego in that team. I was thinking something like Grippy plus Sinclair followed by a bunch of the other Liu characters in order to get a little bit more value. But ultimately, Burn still suffers from still being a pretty slow status. Sinclair's one doesn't really change anything, it's just that it's a very strong AoE move, because 26 Sinclair, as long as you're low sanity, you'll be able to get pretty good value. You need to get at least 4, don't need to be a full chain, you can just do it as a broken chain. You can do 2 at the start, then 2 at the back, and then have like 3 in the middle or something like that, and you'll still be able to get your attack weight of +1. Then after that, if you want to go higher, you're going to need to get A resonance, which is a lot trickier to get. Yep, so your team comp will need to have quite a bit of Lust in order to make sure you can keep getting this additional AoE, but most of the time you would not need 5 AoE. 4 AoE is already pretty sufficient for most bosses and whatnot. Yep, so this ego is just something that you slap on your Sinclair and you are very happy with, and it has also some pretty good synergy with Faust, because Faust applies a bunch of burn and then you need to get 10 plus burn. But like I said, burn is very easy to apply in this game, so it is very, very, very easy to get the synergy required to make that burn status application work. Then I think I missed this guy. So like Rodion, this guy has a HP requirement, but is the flip side of Rodion's. Rodion's one requires the enemy to be healthy, and then for Effervescent Corrosion for yourself, you need to be low HP, and then you get the AoE. But in exchange, your coin is ridiculously high, because Rodion's one was 25 or something, for AoE 25. This one is different because you can get 32. 32 is Spice Bush level, and 32 is a very hard-hitting ego, and you also inflict Gluttony Fragility next turn. And because of that, you can actually synergize pretty well with other Gluttony characters. So if you're going for the Ruptured team, there's a crap ton of Gluttony in that team, so this actually will be a very good ego to pop if you need to get that Gluttony Frag, so that your entire team can go and Unga Bunga the enemy next turn. Something to consider, but of course there is Dimension Shredder which fights with this. Unfortunately, this ego used to be Tef, and then they bumped it up to He, so now you have to choose between the Dimension Shredder or you have to choose Effervescent Corrosion. So this is always very, very tricky to decide, but this ego actually hits a lot harder. So if you are bringing someone else besides your K-Corp, you might actually just bring this character, because Gluttony, right, is actually one of the least used elements in a lot of your team comps. Because most of your team comps would be like W, Ryoshu, Rabbit, Spice Bush, and they don't really generate a lot of they don't consume a lot of Gluttony. Most of the time you find yourself with maybe like 50 Gluttony at the end of a dungeon, and you really don't have much else to use for. Last time we had like Legend Domain and somewhat to dump it, but in this case, right, having this ego to dump that Gluttony spare is actually not too bad. So yeah, this is actually a really good option if you want to run your Hong Lu as something else like Ting Tang or Hook Lu, for example. Then you have a really strong AoE move here, Piercing, as well as 32 in an AoE, so that is really, really powerful and still really, really good. Corrosion effect, something you can also use to heal heal yourself if you want to. It's very quite similar to Rodion's. But you also inflict rupture count by your gluttony resistance divided by 3. Divided by 3 unfortunately makes this really shit, so you'll probably never use this just to apply a little bit of rupture count. And yeah, if you get like what? You get gluttony resistance of 3, you get 1 rupture count. It's like whatever, really, it's whatever. It does make it so that it replaces itself, but yeah, it's not something you want to be doing. It's something like you have to do it because you lost your characters that can actually heal you. Right, and then for the passive, if you're struck at less than 50% HP, you will inflict 1 rupture onto the attacker. So this is nice because it means that as long as you're getting hit as like K-Corp Honglu or whatever, you will be able to inflict rupture passively to them, which is kind of okay. Not particularly interesting, that passive. It's only 1 potency. If it was like 2 or 3, then it would be a lot more interesting. But yeah, this Ego, just very, very solid. It competes with Dimension Shredder for the same slot, unfortunately, so it's quite tricky to pick. I would say that Ego, the Effervescent Corrosion one, is a much better one if you are going to run any of the other Hooklus, like Hooklu or Ting Tang or K-Corp. But if you want to continue using your K-Corp Honglu, you can probably just stick with Dimension Shredder, because Dimension Shredder is pretty much meant for the Rupture team. Right, and for the last one, we are going to talk about Blind Obsession for Ryoshu. Ryoshu's Blind Obsession is what I would call a skill 1 replacer, because this Ego, even though it does give you a little bit of charge count, it's kind of wonky in that you do need a little bit of poise count beforehand in order to keep this poise on you. So how this Ego works is that when you activate this, you will be able to get 4 poise. And then when you get this 4 poise, you will be able to try to crit on one of these moves. And if you crit, then you'll be able to get more charge count. And if you don't crit, well, that's it then, because pretty much you have no poise count generation. The passive for this move is on a crit with a Pride Affinity skill, you will gain 1 poise count. So that's how you can keep it, but you will need a little bit of poise on yourself beforehand. And for Ryoshu, the only Pride skill she has is pretty much on W Ryoshu, as well as the 7 Association Ryoshu. 7 Association, I think it's a singular coin, while for the W Ryoshu is 3, so 3 times, that's pretty much meant for W Ryoshu in my eyes. As besides all of that, right, W Ryoshu also is a slash character, so this kind of fits with her a lot better than all of the other Ryoshus in my opinion. So you gain this 4 poise count, you try to crit. If you crit, you get more charge count, but if you don't, then you'll not be able to keep any of these poise, right? So what you need to do is you need to use your WoW Ego, your Ishmael Ego, that has a random chance of hitting you with 2 poise count. And if it hits you with 2 poise count, then you will be able to keep this poise for future, and then you can use your leap, and if you crit with the leap, you'll be able to get even more poise count, and that should keep the ball rolling for W Ryoshu. So that is what I think is the intended design here. But otherwise, right, if the conditions are right and there are 3 things for you to hit, what you can do is you can just use this to replace your skill 1, because W Ryoshu's skill 1 is not really a very good clashing move, a very good damaging move, but not a very good clashing move, because it is a 3 coiner, but it only rolls up to a 9, 2, 4, 6, 6 plus 3, 9, yeah. So, and besides all of that, you only gain 4 charge count. If you can hit 3 of them with that Ego, you'll be able to get 6 charge count at minimum, because you'll be able to hit 3 targets. And then after that, you will also be able to maybe get additional 2 if you can crit. And the crit is a little bit RNG, but you know, at least it's better than nothing, you know, I guess. Besides that, right, you can also get a pretty hard-hitting Ego, as well as a pretty good clashing Ego. 26 is not bad. It's much better than the skill 1 of this for sure, because this is really, really low. It's very good as a one-sided attack, but not as good as a clashing move. So if you really don't have like leap or something to go and clash with other moves, then you can feel free to swap this S1 out with this Ego, and it should be pretty much fine. So I think that this free Ego is actually not too bad to just keep around and use when you get a skill 1 on your Ryoshu. And you need that you need this Ego here in order to clash someone. So yeah, it's not bad. It's pretty much like a mini telepull. It's not like super telepull or anything like that. It's like a mini telepull. Besides all of that, I think the corrosion effect is a little interesting, but also not too interesting. You gain 4 poise beforehand, and you consume your charge count to gain more poise, max of 10. So technically I could get like 14 poise if I wanted to. And then every time I kill someone, I gain charge count for each unit defeated. Besides that, on a hit, you also gain another poise count, so you can keep this for sure. And then at 10 plus poise, you also gain 30% crit damage. So that is quite interesting that they're trying to meld the poise and the charge together now. So this season is looking to be more of a poise support season, because I see poise on WoW Ishmael, I see poise on Tef Ryoshu. So I feel like a lot of these characters are going to be a lot of poise and poise and poise. Even Twin Hook was poise and burn, and I think the upcoming IDs will also be poise. So who knows really, we will just have to wait and see. Maybe we'll get an ID for Ryoshu that would definitely like having poise and charge count, because if we were to look at the WoW Ego here, once again it is also charge count and poise. So I think the crew of the Pequod are going to be something about charge as well as something about poise. I don't know why they are about charge, but charge count is in here, so it's gonna be kind of interesting to see what P-Moon is cooking. And ultimately, I think Blind Obsession is meant to be the charge count, poise count archetype. Right. So after all of that, I would say that buying this battle pass is actually not too bad. I think Ahab was who am I kidding? Ahab's probably going to be incredibly strong, and if you combine it with Bon Voyage, you're probably going to get some crazy combo, because there's some poise count here and there's some charge count here, and if you just use this charge count for Reindeer Ishmael, sure, but there's some poise count here, and I feel like they're going to cook something with this poise count. Maybe they're going to make poise count somehow good with Season 3. Finally, poise will cook. Hope. This just a little bit of cope, okay? Just a little bit of cope. So don't take my word for it. So the WoW Ego, even without that coping of poise count being good against stuff, the charge count alone is already really good, and there's no competition for Ishmael WoW Ego slot. So because of that, you should have no problems buying this battle pass just for this Ego. You also get some really fun ones for your Tremor comp because of Effervescent Corrosion. And then lastly, you also get a really fun one for your burn, allowing you to do a little bit more damage if you are able to stack your burn up really, really high. You just need 20, and then you'll be able to get 10 defense level down, which is about 3.25 or 3.1 something fragility, which is very, very good. Yep, so overall the paid Battle Pass Eagles are really, really solid. I definitely am going to spark all of them. I'm not buying this Battle Pass, by the way, because for this Battle Pass, I think I can cope a little bit and live without this Ego here, even after I see Ahab. But of course, if I see Ahab and I think that it is really busted, I might change my mind, so, you know, yeah, whatever really. If I want to have fun with this, you can't stop me. I'll buy this Battle Pass if I want to. And so should you guys if you want to, really. I'm not going to stop you, but I don't think it's super necessary anyway, because most of the content in Limbus Company is very clearable. If you're a new player, for example, don't be pressured into buying this thing. It's just good if you want to buy it so that you can go and grind the shards for maybe all the Season 1 IDs and Egos that you missed, as well as the Season 2 Egos that have now been released. So feel free to go and buy this Battle Pass if you want to go and grind your shards. Otherwise, don't feel pressured to buy this thing. You can pretty much clear everything in this game without all of these Egos anyway. Right. So that is my opinions on all of these Battle Passes, all these Egos, as well as what are the possible future Pequod crew going to be. And if I miss anything, feel free to let me know. And I think the last thing to mention is that I think the Battle Pass, it did get expanded, but the the Battle Pass did get expanded, as in like it gained 60 levels, but the rewards are pretty much the same as last Battle Pass. So should be okay if you just like wondering about the value. The value hasn't really changed, so if you buy the Battle Pass, you're getting the same value as Season 2 and Season 1, if I remember correctly. It's just that your shard farming will really only begin once you get to the end of the Battle Pass. So yeah. Right, so that is it. If I got anything wrong, just let me know in the comments. And yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye.